I was 24, I took my first solo trip outside of North America. I picked Thailand because it was affordable, looked beautiful online, and a few friends had gone there and said they loved it. I spent most of the trip bouncing between Bangkok and some smaller beach towns. For the first week, everything went perfectly. The people were friendly, the food was great, and I never felt unsafe. The incident happened during the second half of the trip. I had booked 3 nights at a small hotel outside of Krabi. It wasn't a resort or anything fancy, just a quiet place with maybe 20 rooms spread across a few separate buildings. It was surrounded by jungle on 3 sides and the ocean on the 4th. The area was peaceful, which was actually why I chose it. On my second day there, I rented a scooter and spent most of the afternoon exploring. Around sunset, I stopped at a roadside restaurant about 20 minutes from the hotel. There were only a few people there. I ate dinner, had a couple beers, and started heading back just after dark. About halfway back to the hotel, I noticed another scooter behind me. I didn't think much of it at first. The road was basically one long stretch along the coast. It made sense another person would be traveling the same direction. The problem was that every time I slowed down, they slowed down. Every time I sped up, they sped up. At one point, I pulled over completely and pretended to check my phone, and the scooter passed me. I felt relieved for a second. Then about 50 yards ahead, it pulled off the road and stopped. The rider just sat there waiting. I stayed where I was for maybe 30 seconds before turning around and heading back the opposite direction. I drove until I found a gas station with several people standing outside. I waited there for about 15 minutes. Eventually, I decided I was overreacting. I headed back toward the hotel. When I got back, everything seemed normal. The next day, I spent most of my time at the beach. Around noon, I noticed a man sitting alone near the tree line. He wasn't looking at the ocean or on his phone. He just seemed to be watching people. I only paid attention because he looked familiar. It took me a minute to realize he was wearing the same dark jacket as the rider from the night before. I couldn't be certain because I never got a good look at the rider's face, but I had a bad feeling. I left the beach. As I walked back toward the hotel, I glanced behind me. The man was walking too. He wasn't directly behind me, but just far enough away to look casual. I got back to my room and stayed there for most of the afternoon. That evening, I mentioned it to the guy working the front desk. He listened politely, but didn't seem overly concerned. He told me tourists sometimes become nervous while traveling alone, and that I should call if something happened. I actually felt embarrassed after saying it out loud. The story sounded a little far-fetched. A guy was at the beach. A guy was on the road. That was it. I went to bed feeling stupid. But around 2 a.m. I woke up needing to use the bathroom. The room was dark except for a little moonlight coming through the curtains. As I sat up, I heard something outside. At first, I thought it was an animal. Then, I heard it again. Footsteps. My room was on the ground floor. The footsteps stopped directly outside the window. I sat completely still. Maybe 10 seconds passed, and I heard someone try the door handle, but very gently, like just one slow turn. My heart immediately started pounding. The handle returned to its normal position, and then there was silence. There was one more attempt after a few seconds, this time slightly harder. I grabbed my phone and called the front desk, but nobody answered. I remembered the office closed overnight. The hotel didn't have overnight staff. I was completely alone. The footsteps moved away from the door, and I started telling myself it was another guest who had gotten confused. I don't know why I did it, but I stood up and pulled back a tiny corner of the curtain. There was a man crouched directly beneath the window, looking up. The second he saw movement behind the curtain, he stood up and ran. I locked myself in the bathroom and stayed there until sunrise. The hotel owner arrived around 7 a.m. I told him everything. For the first time since arriving, someone seemed genuinely concerned. He asked me to describe the man. When I finished, he immediately pulled out his phone and showed me a photo. It was the same guy. The owner told me that man wasn't a guest. Apparently, Local businesses had to report him several times over the previous year. He would follow tourists, sometimes for days. Nobody knew exactly what he wanted because he always disappeared before police arrived. I packed my bags and checked out immediately. The owner helped arrange transportation to another hotel closer to town. I thought that would be the end of it, but about 2 hours late, I stopped at a convenience store during the drive. While I was paying for a bottle of water, I happened to glance out the window. Across the road was a scooter parked beneath a tree. The rider was wearing a dark jacket, watching the store. The moment I saw him, he started his scooter and drove away. I didn't see him again after that. I don't know whether he intended to rob me, kidnap me, break into my room, or something else entirely, but he never made a move. But he just watched me and followed me to multiple locations. Like, he found my hotel and stood outside my room in the middle of the night, and somehow he always knew exactly where I was. I've traveled to a lot of countries since then, and had plenty of strange experiences, but nothing has ever matched the feeling of seeing that man crouched beneath my window at 2 o'clock in the morning in a foreign place.